Welcome to Bayanat, the heartbeat of tech in MENA. We bring you raw stories and sharp insights from the founders, investors, and leaders building the region's startup ecosystem. Today, we are doing a deep dive that honestly should be required listening for anyone scaling a fast-growing business, particularly in an emerging market like MENA. We've looked at the journey, the operational blueprint, really, for our sustainable health tech expansion here. And we're using Ola Ali El-Din's experience, Vezeeta's first COO, as our main case study.
Yeah.
The mission today is really to pull out those concrete lessons. How do you actually make that tough shift from just pure growth at all costs, to something more sustainable? Profitability, scalability, especially when, well, the economy throws you a curveball.
And what's immediately striking, I think, is that the big lesson isn't just about the tech itself. It's about putting different things together, synthesis. Ola's path wasn't, a direct shot to a tech C-suite job. She actually trained as a clinical pharmacist.
Right, not the typical tech founder background.
Not at all. And it shows that maybe the best way to scale in complex areas like healthcare is this mix of deep, on-the-ground domain knowledge combined with that big-picture, global operational discipline.
Okay, so let's unpack that foundational mix she developed. It seems to start with empathy, right? Working in a community pharmacy in Cairo, that gave her the street-level view of patient challenges.
Exactly. She was seeing firsthand how fragmented things were, how hard access to decent healthcare could be, which, as you know, is a massive issue across the region. That core question, why is good healthcare so difficult to get? That seems to have driven her whole career.
And that real-world understanding, it deepened later when she was at MSD, the big multinational pharma company.
As a hospital medical rep, she wasn't just pushing products. She was right there, inside the healthcare delivery system. Seeing the hospitals struggle, the complexity, the inefficiencies doctors deal with every single day.
But you mentioned discipline. The real school for that seems to have been IQVIA. And this feels like a key point for founders thinking about who scales their teams. You need more than just drive. You need structure, process.
Absolutely essential.
Yeah.
IQVIA is this huge global player in health data clinical trials. It's the total opposite of the, let's say, sometimes chaotic reality of regional healthcare delivery. That environment taught her how to manage really big, complex operations, how to put meticulous processes in place and aim for excellence like a global company does. It was the bridge, really. She took her hands-on understanding of patient and doctor struggles and fused it with that multinational ability to execute with detail.
So she ends up with this pretty rare operational skill set, a UNISA blend, and that blend kind of sets the stage for 2017, this huge leap, leaving a stable, secure regional job at IQVIA for the wild ride of Vezeeta. That's a massive jump.
It's a huge cultural shift. But the driver is often purpose, right? In the big multinationals, planning happens in these long, sometimes slow 3-year cycles. Then she meets Vezeeta's CEO, Amir Barsoom, and he's talking about fast transformation, tackling healthcare's big problems now with bold moves. That speed must have been, well, exciting.
And here's where you see the difference play out immediately. She pitches her first big idea, this e-detailing product, quite complex. The reaction isn't forming a committee or a 6-month review. It's just, yes, do it now.
Yeah, exactly.
That freedom, that ability to just execute, moving from bureaucracy to just pure, fast scrappiness, that's what convinces her the startup roller coaster is worth it. It's something you see a lot with leaders moving from corporate. Really, they trade the predictability for the power to actually do things.
And that power to act got tested straight away.
Right.
Her first job as business development director was super specific. Digitize the medical rep's clinic visit. Now, think about how clunky that process is.
Oh, yeah. Time-consuming for the rep, often disruptive for the doctor, expensive.
Right. So this wasn't just a sales job. It was about fundamentally changing a core workflow.
So how does she tackle that? Sounds like she acted less like a traditional BD person and more like a mini CEO for that whole initiative.
That's a great way to put it. A mini CEO. She owned it end to end. Talking to clients, understand their pain points, working super closely with product and marketing on the actual design, and then coordinating with operations to make sure it rolled out smoothly.
And the result was this e-detailing platform.
Yeah, a brilliant example of efficiency. They embedded all this specialized pharma content articles, product specs, everything right into the Vezeeta app doctors were already using.
Ah, clever. So it's in their existing workflow.
Exactly. Information delivery became digital, trackable, way cheaper, and targeted to the doctor's specific specialty. It basically replaced expensive human visits with scalable digital interaction. Huge win.
And that success fuels expansion, naturally. By 2021, she's VP of Business Development, and her scope just explodes. Hospitals, labs, insurance, government deals, e-pharmacy partnerships. But let's dig into the market entry strategy for hospitals because that shows the kind of mindset needed for Mina.
Right. Her approach was deliberately bold. Instead of, starting small, picking off easy targets, she went straight for the big fish, spearheading the web booking solution for hospitals by targeting the absolute top-tier players first. Egypt, Kenya, Nigeria. Get the anchor clients.
Which means you're immediately up against serious institutional inertia skepticism.
Totally. This is key for anyone trying to break into conservative sectors. She spent 7 months on what you called the hustle, just to land that first major hospital.
What does that 7-month hustle actually look like on the ground?
It's about building trust, relentless presence, using data, showing them the value. It's navigating layers of bureaucracy, ingrained habits, often paper-based systems. It's convincing people, department by department, that digital won't wreck their workflows, but actually improve them.
Okay.
That 7-month slog basically bought them market credibility. Once that first big hospital signed on, it created a proof point, and adoption started to speed up across the region.
And that success let them diversify quickly, from just booking to adding telemedicine, online pharmacy links, at-home lab tests. The goal was becoming that single digital front door for all outpatient stuff. But managing that growing capital-hungry portfolio, that's where the operational discipline really got tested.
Yes. Then came the shock. The macroeconomic storm hits Egypt. Major currency devaluations. The whole game changed almost overnight.
Right.
That old strategy of just pure, aggressive growth, suddenly not viable. The focus had to shift, immediately, to profitability, scalability, sustainability. It became an existential necessity.
And this is where Ola steps up as the first COO, leading a major restructuring. For listeners maybe facing similar tough pivots, what were the hardest calls they had to make internally?
Well, the absolute toughest was tackling the cash burn head-on. That meant consolidating teams, finding efficiencies everywhere, and crucially, scaling back or cutting the initiatives that were burning the most money. The big one was Vezeeta as a provider, or VAAP.
Can you explain why VAP was such a drain in the MENA context? What was it exactly?
Sure. VAP meant Vezeeta was operating its own physical clinics and pharmacies. In emerging markets, that's a massive capital outlay. Upfront leases, equipment, inventory, staffing, managing physical overhead.
All exposed to currency swings and supply chain issues.
Precisely. They realized they just couldn't scale and be profitable with that asset-heavy model. There's too much risk, too much capital tied up.
So the strategic move was to double down on the asset-light marketplace model they started with.
Exactly right. The core booking business for existing clinics was strong. But for pharmacies, they shifted. Instead of running their own, they focused on onboarding independent pharmacies onto the platform. Maximize reach without the massive capital dump.
Painful cuts, but necessary.
Absolutely. Painful surgery. Plus, deep cuts in other areas, like trimming digital marketing spend where the ROI wasn't crystal clear.
And the result is pretty staggering. They hit profitability, became cash positive within a year, while doing this massive internal surgery and launching new things.
Which brings us to the product that really shows that health tech, fintech synergy. Shamel. This became the new engine for recurring revenue born directly out of market need.
Let's focus on that need. Why Shamel? What gap did it fill?
Well, the numbers tell the story. Only maybe 4 to 6% of Egyptians have private health insurance. A tiny fraction.
Wow, really?
Yeah. So the vast majority, over 90%, pay for decent health care completely out of pocket. That creates a huge affordability problem. Shamel targets that massive majority.
How does it work then?
It's basically a subscription plan. You pay a recurring fee, and it gives you access to a wide network, doctors, hospitals, labs, even big-ticket surgery packages, but at significantly discounted rates.
And transparency must be a big part of that, building trust.
Huge. Digital pricing is key. You see the full cost, the discount, the savings, all clear in the app. But they went further, integrating fintech directly, because even discounted care can be expensive, right?
Sure.
So they partnered with Visa, NimCard, banks, to offer buy now, pay later options, specifically for surgeries, more expensive procedures, installment plans built right in.
Which implies they needed to handle the payments piece themselves, too.
They did. They saw payments as a core friction point, so they launched VPay, their own payment gateway, their own digital wallet. It makes transactions seamless, secure, all within the Vezeeta ecosystem. That vertical integration, solving the access and the payment problem, that's powerful.
And they're scaling it through B2B2C as well, not just going direct to consumer.
Yeah, that's the smart way to reach millions. They built corporate plans for SMEs, but also landed massive deals with giants like Telecom Egypt. That lets them offer Shamel directly to millions of existing mobile users. It's a recurring revenue machine built on affordability and access via partnerships.
So looking forward, Vezeeta's proved the model. They're profitable, cash positive. Now the focus shifts, it sounds like, to deliberate healthy growth. Scaling Shamel, taking the model to the GCC, other African countries, and using tech for efficiency.
Definitely. And AI is becoming really central to that efficiency drive. Internally, their engineers are using AI co-pilots, apparently speeding up product launches by something like 40%.
Wow.
And externally, for the patient, it's about smoothing out the rough edges. Using AI to read doctors' handwritten prescriptions notoriously difficult, itemizing complex lab results, and they're working on smart chatbots to help people find the right service faster. The aim is using data not just for growth, but to make the user experience much, much better.
It feels like the core lesson here for the whole ecosystem, especially founders in these complex regional markets, is about that strategic, sometimes painful fusion. You have to take the operational discipline, the meticulousness learned in big corporate settings, and apply it with intense startup agility. That combination seems to be the secret sauce that let Vezeeta navigate that pivot from high burn to solid profitability.
Which raises a really interesting question for you listening in. If that mix of discipline and agility was key to survival, how does the Zeta maintain that essential agility now that they are established, profitable, growing into a major regional player? Especially as they rely more on these complex fintech and B2B partnerships. It's a constant balancing act, isn't it?
For more stories like this, subscribe to Bayanat's newsletter and stay updated on the latest in Mina's tech and startup ecosystem.